This here is the P365 AXG Legion. It's currently one of the best options for concealed carry in 2024. Let's go with a little bit of overview on this thing here first. So you're going to start up front. You're going to have a 3.1 inch barrel with a compensator built into the slide here with a sight radius of 5.1 inches. It comes with an optics cut for the Shield RMSC footprint and has a width of 1.4 inches, as you can see here. It puts it in the slimline category, and this gun weighs in at about 26 ounces before an optic and a flashlight. I want to start off here talking about the trigger. As you can see here, it has a good amount of pre-travel. There's the wall. The wall is a nice clean break. The reset to me is a little bit longer than it should be. As you can see here, as we slowly creep out, it takes a while to hit the reset, but it is a firm positive reset. Overall, the trigger is not too bad, but it leaves a little bit to be desired on the table. Now let's move into ergonomics of the pistol. You have pretty good front and rear serrations on the grip. The G10 lock grips that it has are really comfortable. You get a really good grip in your hand, but if you're using this gun for concealed carry, you're not really going to be rubbing your stomach raw or your tactical tummy raw, whatever you got. But it's still a great grip that isn't going to be slipping around in your hands, even if it's a little wet or raining when you need to use it. The grips are going to work great. Into the back strap here, I think they did a fairly decent job of getting some curvature to kind of naturally sit in your palm. I really am a fan of this dovetail here. It's got some machining flat back there that really helps you have a nice comfortable spot to rest your hand. And now moving underneath here to the trigger well, they did a pretty good job of making this big enough where people of any hand size are going to be able to use this comfortably. I have fairly large hands, pretty fat fingers, and my hand fits pretty comfortably on here, especially with the mag well. It kind of helps pinch everything together for me, which helps me get a nice grip on the gun and helps me to control the recoil pretty well. Speaking of recoil, this gun is actually pretty flat shooting considering the size. It has the front compensator up here built into the slide like we mentioned, which does help a little bit with your 115 grain, but not really too much. Where you're really going to see the difference and the advantage is when you're running some heavier ammo or plus P ammo, such as 124 grain or your critical duty, stuff like that, your defensive carry rounds. You're going to notice that compensator does a little bit more than when you're just shooting, your regular range ammo. One thing that I think is interesting to note with the P365 AXG Legion and even the macro is that you get full-size performance out of the pistol in a slimline, compact setup. Here I have a Shadow Systems MR920, which is the same size as a Glock 19. And here you can see side-to-side comparison. Pretty similar slide lengths here. The macro or the AXG Legion / macro is a little bit shorter in the slide, but you're going to be running the same length grip here. But you'll notice the 365 AXG is substantially slimmer while still having 2 extra rounds of capacity over that Glock 19 size pistol. So now compare a Glock 48 to a P365 AXG, right? Both slimline pistols. Glock 48 slightly slimmer, ever so slightly slimmer. A decent amount slimmer here in the grips, as you can see. It doesn't show up too well on camera, but you'll have to take my word. But where the AXG Legion shines over, say, the Glock 48 or the 43X is the Glock 48 is a terrible shooting pistol. It's 10 round capacity. It's pretty snappy. Trigger's trash. Where this comes into the market and it kind of fits more roles for you, right? So you can do a lot more with this pistol because it has 17 rounds versus, 10 in a similar size package, which other than the Hellcat Pro, you're not really getting anything similar, which I am personally not a big fan of the Hellcat Pro. But some people do love them. They're just not for me. I never found them to be comfortable. Now I want to move into the reliability portion of this little overview / review here. So I have about 800 rounds through this specific AXG Legion. I also have about 2,000 rounds through my old macro. I have had 0 malfunctions through this one and had 0 malfunctions through 2,000 rounds through my macro, which I then upgraded to this from that. So in terms of reliability, I feel pretty confident to say that it's a reliable, accurate shooting firearm. You don't really have to worry when you pull that trigger. This thing's going to go bang and you're going to be good to go. Something that I really want to highlight with this pistol is just that size to performance ratio. Obviously, I compared it to the Glock 48, the Glock 19X size pistols, even next to a true 19X here, which does have the shorter slide. You can see the Glock 19X is a fair bit longer in both length and slide length, and that's also going to be 17 with a flush mag, 19 or 21 depending on what you get with non-flush mags. But for flush mag comparison there, you get a really small, good shooting platform for a more concealable and more multi-purpose platform, if that makes sense. But I think where this really shines is the fact that this shoots on par with my full-size P320 with a compensator, and it outperforms my Glock 47, my Glock 19X, which are true full-size guns, but this here is not a full-size gun. It's concealable. It's carryable. It tucks into a holster every day, and it doesn't print on my body. Now I'm fairly larger, so I can get away with carrying full-size without printing. But even for a smaller frame person, you're going to be able to get away with carrying this pistol, which has great performance in a concealable package for most people. Now, the areas that you're going to struggle with concealment might be in this magwell, which is removable. So you could take that out if you need, a little bit more slimline profile. And if it is too long, you have options such as like the P365 XL, like the Spectre Comp or something like that. But again, I can't stress it enough. I think where this thing really shines is its size to performance ratio. You don't have any other pistols, maybe other than if you want to count the Hellcat Pro. I know some people are fans of them. I am not. But outside of that, there's nothing really close to this pistol in the market. There's things that are similar, right? Like you have things that are slimline. You have things that have capacity. You have things that, have a compensator or flat shooting, but you don't have a lot of guns on the market right now that kind of meet that full package like this gun does. And I think, it's important to note, this gun is not the best gun in any one subcategory of performance. Is the trigger the best? No. Is it the flattest shooting gun you can buy? No. Is it the fastest shooting gun you can buy? No. But what it is it's a perfect blend of what you want and what you need, right? So for every day, you're not going to be sitting there going, okay, I need, the most accurate to, an MOA standard pistol in the world, right? Because then you're going to be talking very large firearms with long barrels, long sight radius, and that's not going to be concealable for you, right? Which you could use something like that for, say, home defense or something like that. But, you're not going to be able to get away with concealed carrying a firearm of that size. And that's not to say that people don't do it, but if anybody knows what they're looking for, within a half a second, they're going to pick you up, notice that you have a firearm on your waist, and at the end of the day, the goal of concealed carry is to have a firearm for if you need it, but to not allow people to know that you have it on your person. Now, some people don't really care about that, and that's good for you. This pistol probably isn't for you then. It could be, but, if you don't care so much about concealability, then this thing probably isn't going to speak to you because you're going to want something with a full size where you can get, maybe 21 rounds in a mag or something like that, which, to note, the Fuse line did introduce 21 round mags for the P365s. So now that is an option for you. I think they are starting to sell them either as of like yesterday or they're starting on around Black Friday. I got some emails from SIG talking about deals on those. So that is an option for you. You can run a 21 round mag in this thing, say for something like home defense. You buy this thing for a little dual purpose gun. You can run a 17 round mag during the day, have it nice and flush, more concealable, but then at night, throw your 21 round mag in there and be good to go for home defense. If, you're somebody who can only afford one gun for a do everything, this thing might be the best do everything pistol on the market. Just some other quick things to note here. If you are somebody who has a P365X macro already, preferably you're looking same comp to comp, so everything's the same, and you're like, oh, I'll get this, I'll sell my macro or whatever you're going to do with it, and I'll just use the holster that I had. You're not going to be able to do that. I found out the hard way that when you do change from a macro to an AXG, the grip module is ever so slightly different. It's a little bit longer this way. Down here, it's a little bit thicker. So you won't be able to use the same holsters that you used for your X macro on this gun here. But at the end of the day, that shouldn't be too much of a determining factor. But I think, where this really shines over the macro is really just in this grip module. It's the grips. The G10 grips are fantastic. The serrations are great. Not having an interchangeable backstrap is a little bit of a disadvantage in this gun versus the macro, because you can do a little more with that grip module than you can with this. This is kind of just, you're getting what you're getting. You're not doing a whole lot. Now, is this the best SIG P365 that you could buy or build? Maybe, maybe not, probably not. The Carius stuff is really nice, or however you pronounce that brand. Their grip modules seem really nice. I think I've seen like TC Bros or something like that. They have some pretty nice grip modules too. But, if you are someone like me who's like, for a concealed carry or a duty gun, I want something from a manufacturer that I can trust. I don't have to do all the independent testing myself. This thing's going to be great for you. Now, if you don't already have a P365X macro and you are in the market and you're saying, you're looking at it, you're going, this is $1,200. The X macro is somewhere between, it's called $750 and $900, depending where you're buying it. Obviously, gun stores vary in prices online versus in person. But, it's a pretty substantial between $300 and $400 difference between this and an X macro. What are you getting more out of this for $300 or $400 that you're not getting in that Palmer framed X macro? And to that, I would say that the advantages and increase in performance is marginal. I don't think necessarily recoil is overall too noticeable, right? If you shoot them side by side, you can notice some slight differences. This does handle recoil ever so slightly better, in my opinion, than the X macro. The triggers feel pretty much the same side by side. You're not really going to notice too much difference there. You will notice the difference in weight and grip texture, as well as, not that this really matters if you're looking for a defensive or concealed carry gun, but I personally think that the gray finish on the Legion just looks so much better than the black on the X macros. But, the X macros still look cool. They look great. Don't get me wrong. But it's something about the way that this gray matches up with the black. Obviously, overall, I would say that the X macro comp line is probably my favorite pistol of 2024. The AXG specifically is my favorite. But it's not because it's the best in every category or even the best pistol out there. It's simply due to that size to performance ratio that I've mentioned, where you're able to get such a usable, concealable platform, where a lot of times when you drop into those real concealable guns, they're going to be a lot snappier. Like this Glock 48 here. This thing is not that fun to shoot. One, the trigger is fucking atrocious on mine. It's got like a 9-pound trigger. Something got fucked up from Glock with this thing, but it's awful. And it's snappy even with the 48 with the longer slide. The grip doesn't really fit in my hand. Like I have way too much overhang. But then, you're looking at pretty much same size guns here. The 365's a little bit longer, but that's what takes away that overhang for me. But just in terms of side-by-side comparison and performance, every day of the week, this thing shoots way better than that Glock, right? So I think, if you're in the market for a do-everything pistol, you just stop looking here. I think what you get out of this thing is really, really impressive considering, the size and, SIG's reputation for R&D on customers. But overall, I think that this is a great purchase. You won't be disappointed in it. I don't think I've ever met somebody that shot this or my macro that was like, I just don't get why people like them. Every time somebody shot them for the first time, they're like, wow, I'm impressed by that gun. So I don't think you're going to go wrong buying one of these. I would be confident to say that you will like it.